Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. What's the future of Canada-India relations? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tells CBC there has been a, quote, tonal shift from Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What's the next step for Canada? And have you been affected by that diplomatic rift, whether through a personal trip or in doing business with India? And we'll talk about the most thoughtful gifts you can give or make and the most thoughtful gifts you have received. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. Thank you for joining us on CBC Radio 1 and live streaming on CBC Gem, cbc.ca/BC, and on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. Well, India is now responding to allegations linking its government to assassination plots in the United States. In an interview, Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he will definitely look into an alleged plan that was thwarted by U.S. authorities to kill a Sikh leader. It's a very different reaction to similar allegations Canada made in September. Reporter Ishan Garg has more from New Delhi.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has for the very first time addressed allegations that an Indian official was involved in an assassination attempt on a Sikh activist on US soil. In an interview with the Financial Times, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that this is one issue that India is looking into, but it's not one that is going to derail India-US ties. In the interview, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said that India is deeply concerned about any of the activities of its citizens and added that India-US ties are going from strength to strength. This comes at a time when President Joe Biden has already described India-US ties as one of the most consequential ties in the world right now.
That's reporter Ishan Garg filing for CBC News from New Delhi. And as we heard, Ottawa's allegations 3 months ago sparked major diplomatic tension between India and Canada. Narendra Modi's government reacted with scorn and denials when Trudeau alleged in the House of Commons that there was credible evidence linking India to the June shooting death of Sikh activist Hardip Singh Nijjar at the Guru Nanak Gurdwara in Surrey. But since the unsealing of the U.S. indictment, Trudeau says he senses a shift in India's tone. And he told the CBC Canada doesn't want to be in a fight with India over the allegations. Here's some of what Trudeau told CBC chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton in a year-end interview.
We want to be working on that trade deal. We want to be advancing our Indo-Pacific strategy. But it is foundational for Canada to stand up for people's rights, for people's safety, and for the rule of law. And that's what we're going to do.
Since that indictment in the United States, which I'm sure you're aware of, has there been any movement from India, any willingness to cooperate with the Americans and then with us, because that's out publicly now?
I think there is the beginning of an understanding that they can't bluster their way through this, and there is an openness to collaborating in a way that perhaps they were less open before.
What does that mean?
But it means what it is. There's an understanding that maybe just churning out attacks against Canada isn't going to make this problem go away.
So something has changed since that indictment was made public?
I wouldn't say it's changed, but there might be a tonal shift, perhaps.
That's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau speaking with the CBC's Rosemary Barton in a year-end interview. We'd like to hear from you as well. What do you think of this apparent shift in tone from India? And what is the future of Canada-India relations? How has that situation between Canada and India affected you, perhaps through a family trip or a business deal? You can give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. By email, you can send us your thoughts. It's bctoday@cbc.ca. And joining me now is Satwinder Bains. She's the director of the South Asian Studies Institute at the University of the Fraser Valley. Satwinder, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, what do you make of that difference between India's response to the U.S. allegations and its response towards Canada?
Well, I felt it was a huge difference, as we all could see from both the messaging from the diplomatic corps as well as from government themselves. You could see that when America made the allegations, and they made them actually a little bit differently than us, they gave evidence, an indictment form went out, and they named people, and so it was a bit different than what Prime Minister Trudeau had said in Parliament. So you could see the response as being entirely different, perhaps based on the evidence that they could see immediately, or based on just the might of the United States in comparison to Canada. And perhaps also, I feel a part of it is that there has been a kind of a diplomatic ping pong going on, as you know, since G7 with India and Canada. And Prime Minister Trudeau visited India, and at that time met with Prime Minister Modi and did tell him about his thoughts about these allegations, and nothing moved. The needle didn't move. So a huge, huge difference in terms of response when America came out and said that they had evidence as well.
And so, how do you think the U.S. Allegation has changed the situation then for Canada?
Well, that was the turning point, a game changer in a sense for us, as well as for the world, I suppose, for all of us to feel that India was seriously taking the allegations, and it took a country like the U.S., which, as you know, is probably the greatest country on this planet, and its impact, to Canada, to India, is obviously huge. So I see that the game plan that Prime Minister Trudeau had come up with, if the U.S. had stood by Canada at that moment and come out and said something, but perhaps they weren't ready, I think they would have responded differently to Canada as well. But it took a couple of months before the U.S. said what they did, and then we could see the difference coming out in terms of the response from India. So I see that while we are great partners, we have our greatest economic partnerships with the U.S., we're still small players in terms of the world stage, and maybe our relationship with India needs to be reevaluated.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we have a huge diaspora, as you know, and there is a huge political, economic, social connection to India that we've had for the last 120 years, and previously as both as colonial countries through the British Raj. So I see that our relationship has been kind of steady. We haven't had these rocky moments. This was probably the rockiest moment we've had in our relationship with India. But it isn't, one of the greatest powers that is working with India. And I think we have to reevaluate both where we stand with our partners and also the diaspora's kind of, political leanings have to be addressed. And I've said this many times that, the issues that the largest diaspora, the Sikh diaspora in Canada has, are very old and have not been addressed. And I'm not sure that I'm not sure, can Canada play a role in addressing those issues with India? It's not enough to say, let's have trade, let's keep our strategies open for economic gain. We need to also look at the social well-being of our communities. And I wonder if that's something that needs to be reevaluated. Can Canada play a kind of peacemaking role in having to address the issues that Sikhs have with India over so many years? And as you know, with Air India, with 1984, Canada does have a role. And I wonder if that's something we should think about.
That's an interesting point of view. And so how has the pursuit of trade with India, how has it affected the diaspora community here?
Well, anytime there's a hiccup like this, obviously everybody takes a step back, reevaluates, is this a safe place to continue to put your dollars? There has been a flow of foreign remittances to India for a long time by the diaspora and then non-diaspora communities as well, investing in a large economic power in the world. But I think it gives people pause. It gives people time to think, perhaps, is the political arena as safe as it's saying it is? Is it a democracy? Is it truly a democracy? Is it a country we can play ball with forever? Is it a country that's safe, that has human rights abuses don't happen, like we consider with China? We don't tend to think of India in the same way as China. We think India is a messy democracy, but a democracy nevertheless. And I'm not sure that everybody agrees that the democracy that India has is the kind of democracy that we believe in. But those issues don't really get addressed. I think trade is something we want to have. We want to play with the large partners in the world, and so be it. It's true. But the players that are doing the work, whether they are conglomerates or whether they're individuals, all must take a bit of a pause and say, what are we going to do? Reevaluation would happen when something like this happens, where 41 of our diplomats were thrown out of the country. Visas were curtailed, although business visas immediately came into effect. And even when the tourist visas were opened up, there was not a lot of fanfare. It just kind of a message came through and said, you can get your visas now. So I agree with Prime Minister Trudeau that there's been a shift and a change, and whether it was in the tone of the Prime Minister of India or whether it was through policy enactments, I think there has been a shift and a change, and for the good, I think. But I must say, still simmering underneath are those wounds, open wounds that never go away. And I don't know if this is where we make that difference.
What would you like to be the next step from Canada then?
Well, Canada has to present its evidence, I suppose, at some point, whether it's at the international court or however it presents it. That evidence has not come out yet, whether it's just not ready to be. Like the US came out with names, with tapes of conversations. I don't know if we're just not ready. That has to come out for us to be taken seriously. I think if we've made the allegations and credible allegations, as the Prime Minister has said, then we have to share that. And I'm sure behind the scenes it's being shared. We're just not privy to it. And then we have to make kind of a judgment call about what happens, how safe do we feel? This is a serious issue. You don't hear the word assassination a lot in today's world. You think it's something that's Cold War related and very old. And if this is something that we're facing, it's a live issue. I don't think it can be just shelved. I think it's still ongoing. And I think we have to still, even if visas are open and trade opens up, we still have to address it.
It's good to have your perspective on this today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Michelle.
Satwinder Bains is director of the South Asian Studies Institute at the University of the Fraser Valley. And much more on this story today throughout the day on CBC. This is BC Today here on CBC. I'm Michelle Elliott. Thanks so much for joining us. And we are live streaming as well as broadcasting on radio, of course. So on radio, 88.1 FM in Metro Vancouver, and live streaming. You can use the CBC News app. You can find us on our website, cbc.ca/BC, or you can find us on YouTube as well. It's CBC Vancouver. Yesterday on the show, we talked about your most memorable books that you've received as gifts. And Frank wrote us this email. The most memorable print media I received was a collection of National Geographic magazines, all the way from 1970 to 2005. Going through them really felt like traveling through a time machine. You'll literally see how ideas and opinions progressed. Robin writes, my favorite books were 3 in the Mother West Wind series from Thornton W. Burgess. These old books are tales of wonderful animals of all kinds who do good things and learn life lessons. My dad was a traveling salesman and bought them for me one at a time on his many travels. And Lisa received a glimpse into the beauty of Fogo Island by BC writer Eileen Orr a few years ago. And she writes, as one of the oldest Irish settlements in Canada, the photography of Fogo Island is amazing, with historical info regarding how the folks have kept their traditions alive today, not much different than 100 years ago. Highly recommended. Thank you so much for all of your emails. You can send us your thoughts on anything you hear on the show and watch on the show. It's bctoday@cbc.ca. You're with BC Today here on CBC. I'm Michelle Elliott. Thanks so much for being with us. Well, we are just days away from Christmas morning. And asking you, have you gotten all of your holiday shopping done? It's okay if you're not done yet. No judgment here. There are many last-minute things to do, right? The last-minute work gatherings, friend gift exchanges, not to mention secret Santa parties. So today on the show, we are hearing all about the art of choosing gifts and making them too. And are asking you, are you struggling to find those last-minute gift ideas? And if you have any gift suggestions for thoughtful ones you can even make, let us know. And let us know, too, what's the most thoughtful gift you've ever received? You can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. you can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. By email, you can share your thoughts as well, bctoday@cbc.ca. Your most thoughtful gifts that you have given and the ones you have received. Now, quite often, the most thoughtful gifts are ones that we make ourselves. So I have two guests helping me take your calls today. Surya Govender is co-director of the Learnary, and Cory Vries is a social enterprise manager for the Craft Council of BC. Hello, welcome to both of you.
Hello.
Nice to have you with us. I see you have a bag full of things here.
Bag full of goodies.
Always exciting. I'll ask you first, we're asking people what are the most memorable or thoughtful gifts they've received. Does anything come to mind for you, Surya?
Oh, well, I was just thinking about that. Last year, a couple of years ago, we moved into a new house, and my son drew me a picture of the new house and framed it for our hallway. So that was very thoughtful.
Oh my goodness. What went through your mind?
Well, it had been a hard transition, so it really was a gesture of of care for me.
Yeah.
And every day I walk into the house and see that picture. So it was, it was lovely.
I can sense you choking up a little bit as you talk about it now. And what about for you, Cory? The most thoughtful gift you've received, and something perhaps that was made or drawn for you?
Also a similar story. I think the most thoughtful gift I've received usually comes from my sister. She makes amazing handmade cards and handmade goods.
Oh, wow.
She also knows that I love to write, and so I think the most special gift I've received would be from my sister, and a specially designed journal that she did a collage with my favorite items on it or things that she knows that I love on that journal.
Wow. And have you told her anything about what you've written in it? Or is it hands off? Yeah.
Hands off. Hands off. Yes.
For your eyes only.
Yes.
Yeah. It's on a need-to-know basis.
Yes.
Right? What is it about gifts that people make? What do you think makes it so special, Surya?
Oh, I do think it's a little part of ourselves. It's the time that we take. And if anyone has ever made a gift, you know that you spend time with that gift. You think about the person, and it brings in elements of your day and your connection with each other. So I think connection.
It's that connection, that personal connection between you and the recipient. Yeah, what about for you, Cory?
I think with handmade goods, it always starts with an intention and a thought. And so some of the items that are made from a memory that someone has or a special event in their life or something that they really love. And so it's the process of thinking about what do I want to make and then spending all the time making it according to their vision. And so there's so much heart, as you say, there's so much like heart in a handmade item that it demonstrates a piece of that person's their self, their soul, their identity. It's so personal.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. And we'd love to hear from our listeners and viewers on this as well. Let us know if you need ideas for a last minute gift, perhaps, what's a question that you might have if you want to make something, if you want to be really thoughtful about it, not just, stop by the convenience store and grab something off the rack. You can give us a call, or you can let us know too what's been the most thoughtful gift that you've ever given or that you have received. Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. And we have some samples here as well. My guests are Surya Govender, co-director of the Learnary, and Cory Vries is a social enterprise manager for the Craft Council of BC. We're going to get some samples from you here. First, perhaps you can tell us about your organizations. And Cory's just leaning over to grab her stuff. You both have nice paper bags filled with goodies here. But tell us perhaps about the Learnary first, Surya.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we are a nonprofit social enterprise, and our mandate is to support intergenerational learning and curiosity. So that's for all ages and all skill levels. So we have a little shop on Hastings near the PNE, and people come in and are often just blown away by the possibilities. And so we love to foster that curiosity.
Why is it called the Learnary?
Oh, that's a great question. My mother-in-law actually came up with the name, and she loved the idea of a place where people could come and learn. And we see learning in a really broad way. That anytime that you get introduced to a new idea or a new person, a new thought, that's a moment of learning.
What is it that people see when they step into your doors?
Oh boy, we have shelves and shelves. We have.
I'm imagining it right now.
Yeah, we've got books and games and art supplies. We have paints. We have yo-yos and slingshots. We have puzzles. Really, it's a smorgasbord.
What a way to put it. And what about for you, Cory? Tell us about the Craft Council of BC.
Yeah, the Craft Council of BC, it's a charitable service organization in the arts sector. And so our mandate and it has been for the past 50 years, is to empower craftspeople in their artistic practice. And so that's done through a number of different programs at our offices and our social enterprise on Granville Island.
Okay, and so what is it that people can do when they go there?
So the council itself, we put on exhibitions, craft-based exhibitions. We also put on workshops. We have a really strong membership program where we share information. But the social enterprise is where our members our members can sign their work in our shop.
Oh,
and
wow.
So we have about 400 craft-based artists from BC who are part of our membership. And then in our shop, we have about just over 100 consigners in the shop right now.
Oh my goodness. And I'll ask you about how much that has grown. Interest in crafting has grown. Yeah, you're nodding right now. Let's quickly go to Gareth, who's joining us on the Sunshine Coast. Hi, Gareth.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I am well. Nice to hear from you. What's the most thoughtful gift you've received or you've given?
Well, the first gift I ever gave my now wife 13 years ago this Christmas, I handmade a sequined headband.
Wow. And what gave you that idea to make a sequined headband?
Well, she loves sequins, and so I thought, well, I probably can't afford a full sequin ball gown, but I could go to Dressview on Hastings and get individual sequins, and so that's what I did.
And how long did it take you to make it?
Oh, hours.
Really?
Hours. Probably. Oh, yeah. It took forever. I had never sewn before, so I had to sew each individual sequin. I actually did it twice. I made two. Because the first one wasn't very good. So the second one didn't take as long. It was much better.
Right. Well, it's like a pancake. The first one is never that good. And so
actually, I had the opposite. I find my first pancakes are the best, but I don't know. My first sequin headbands are not the best.
It's sequin. I'm sure that is a very common experience among people who make sequin headbands.
Yeah. I've related to nobody about that.
That's right.
But I'm sure it is common.
And I'm sure it went over very well, it sounds like, eh?
Yeah, 13 years later, 2 kids, and we still have it. It doesn't. It's just on display now in the house, though.
It doesn't get worn.
We don't go out much anymore.
You have 2 kids.
Exactly.
All.
No discos.
That's right. I love that idea. What a thoughtful thing to do for her, making a sequin headband and 2 at that. Gareth, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Happy holidays to you. That's Gareth calling us from the Sunshine Coast. I love it. A sequined headband.
Fabulous.
Individually sewing each one onto the headband. That never gets worn now. We're going to go back to your calls. And Surya Govender with the Learnary, Cory Vries with the Craft Council of BC, asking for your most favorite and thoughtful gifts you have made or received. Right now, it's time for the CBC News Update with Belle Puri.
Good afternoon. With Christmas just days away, BC Ferries has tips for holiday travelers. Those with bookings, including foot passengers, should arrive 45 to 60 minutes before sailing. Those without reservations should expect waits. And it says check the status of your sailing before leaving home. YVR is also reminding travelers to plan ahead. Between today and Boxing Day, close to 70,000 people will move through the airport per day. The busiest day is likely to be Friday. Kelowna RCMP targeted shoplifters over a 7-day period earlier this month. 50 people were arrested. More than $10,000 of merchandise was recovered. A similar one-day operation by Richmond RCMP last Friday resulted in 15 arrests. And BC's Lottery Corporation says it has paid out almost $860 million in prizes this year, with more than 101 million winning tickets sold. A look at the BC weather. Along the north coast, showers with the temperature steady at 7. In the Peace region, mainly cloudy, clearing late in the afternoon, a high of 6. For the central interior, the rain will end this afternoon, a high of 5 degrees. In the southeast, clouds and drizzle, a high of 4 degrees. For the southern interior, a mix of sun and cloud, a high of 5. And along the south coast, Greater Victoria, a mix of sun and cloud, a high of 9. Metro Vancouver, mainly cloudy, late afternoon showers, a high of 10. Now back to Michelle and more of BC Today.
I don't expect to win a lottery. So have you made a gift yourself or received a handmade one?
Handmade ones, yes, and they're always quite lovely, you know, because you can keep them forever and cherish them. But I have to tell you though, my best Christmas present was given to me decades ago, and it was a walking doll when I was 5 years old. And I was 5. The doll was almost as tall as me.
Oh, Belle, lovely. Thank you so much. That's Belle Puri. Welcome back. This is BC Today here on CBC. I'm learning a lot about her, this doll that she received as a young child, loving Charlotte's Web and receiving that as a kid. So you get to know people while you work here at CBC. Thanks for joining us here on BC Today. We're live on Radio 1, 88.1 FM in Metro Vancouver, live streaming as well on the CBC News app, cbc.ca/BC, and on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. And we are back talking about those beautiful handmade gifts, the art of making and choosing gifts. If you're struggling for a last-minute gift idea, give us a call and perhaps we can help you out with that. And if you have suggestions for gifts as well to make at the very last minute, in the final hour, you can give us a call. But we really would love to know about the most thoughtful gifts you've received, you've made, or that you've given. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can also hit pound 690 on your cell phone. By email, it's bctoday@cbc.ca. My guests with me here in studio are Surya Govender, the co-director of the Learnary, and Cory Vries is the social enterprise manager for the Craft Council of BC. And I was going to ask you both, how much interest have you seen grow over these recent years?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the pandemic was that was one silver lining, that people really started to think about making their own things. They had time, they were looking for connection. So I have really seen a growing interest in craft and in making our own things in the last few years, for sure.
I'm sure. And what about for you, Cory?
We've also seen a growing interest, also during COVID, people who are forced to stay in their homes picked up weavings or crocheting or working with clay. And I think generally there's been a trend into more craft-based practices in the last 5 or 6 years.
Oh, really? Okay, so even before that. Why is that?
I'm not so sure. I mean, there's definitely, I think with the advent of the iPhone and interest in iPhones, I think there's also been some counter to that, saying, no, we really want to do community-based handmade goods in response to mass production.
Technology, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a cultural shift right now.
Yeah.
To be more interested in handmade craft goods.
Right, but of course, where do we see the photos of all those handmade craft goods on social media?
That's so true.
On the iPhone.
Yes.
It all becomes circular, doesn't it? Let's take a call here from Linda in Vernon. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. And what's the most thoughtful gift that you'd like to talk about?
The one thing that we do, my kids and I, is on Christmas morning when everyone else is at home opening their presents, we go together and work at an animal shelter.
Wow.
And that always is a great way to start the day. As far as gifts go, I'm a senior citizen, and most of us, we're always purging and we're always downsizing. So getting gifts that we can use up, gift certificates, jams, jellies, candles, whatever, because we just don't have the space anymore.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to say is giving gifts. The way things are with housing and mortgages, I always give my kids money and they just use it to start paying off their mortgages.
Well, isn't that prudent?
So anyways, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I love that. Can you tell me a little bit more about spending Christmas morning at the at an animal shelter? How did that begin?
My daughter-in-law works there all the time. It's not her job. She's a volunteer, and she puts hours and hours into it. And a lot of times at Christmas, people are busy, right? And so there's a shortage of workers around Christmas. So we just made it that every Christmas morning, our family, extended family, goes and does what has to be done. And the animals are great.
Yeah. What are the looks like on the kids' faces?
Animals.
just say that.
Which kids? There's no kids. There's just animals. Lots of cats.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought you went with your kids. Pardon me.
Oh, I go with my kids, but they're adults, and they do this like 2-3 times a week. So it's nothing unusual for them, but it is for me because I live quite far away from them.
I should be asking what's it look like on your face then when you go in.
Well, I'm not a cat person, so I do a lot of the washing up and cleaning.
Yeah.
But last time I did get into the cages, and actually it wasn't so bad. I have to do a little bit more of that, I think.
Well, it is much appreciated. Linda, thank you very much.
Okay.
Merry Christmas to you. That's Linda in Vernon. Deb is up next in Comox. Hi, Deb.
Hi.
Hi. What's the most thoughtful gift you've received?
Well, the sweetest gift, my daughter, who is now 27, but when she was 6 years old, she was sent to school with some wrapping paper, a little bit of money. And they went and they then bought their own little gift for their parents.
Okay.
So she stopped for herself. So she got off she didn't see me. So she got off the bus after school in a sunny winter day. And her cheeks are super rosy. And she is so excited to come home and show me this gift. And I can just watching her walk down the street. And I'll never forget that. It's just every winter, Christmas, think of that. And so she gives me a Santa. It was
Deb, I am just loving your story. Unfortunately, the phone line is pretty choppy, and I can hear, chubby cheeks, red cheeks, and your daughter, your 6-year-old. Is there a way we'll put you on hold and we'll try to fix that line, okay? Because I really want to hear the end of this story. Is that all right? We'll try and fix that technical connection with Deb in Comox. It sounded really precious. Karen is joining us next in Victoria. Hi, Karen.
Hi, how are you?
I am fine. Thanks so much for calling in. And what's a gift that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, my kids are in their mid-30s now, and for many, many years, we've stopped giving gifts that the criteria is, mostly stocking stuffers, but things that are either consumable or they have to be handmade if they're not a consumable item. And so this year, my sister's coming from Kelowna area, and my nieces live here. My daughter lives here in Victoria, and my sister's beloved dog of many years passed away this year. So I went to the craft store, got some, I've done it before with paper mache ornaments or wooden ornaments, get pictures printed. I asked them earlier to send me some of their favorite photos of them with their dog Bella, and so I got them printed, glued them on, and then surrounded the photo. They're in the shape of a round ornament, like a globe.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And then sparkles on the edges and some puffy paint, edging and stuff. And they'll have those to keep forever and put on the tree every year.
Oh, wow. And, we've been hearing here from Surya and Cory how it's so much about the thought that you put in as you're making the gift. Was that something that you went through?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It was so nice to see those favorite pictures that they sent me.
Yes.
And and I knew Bella as well, and to see the photos of her, and it's a lovely little emotional thing that really makes you connect a little bit more. I think they just have a deeper meaning. And
I'm sure you've passed on that lovely experience to your family members too. Karen, thank
Yeah.
you very much. What a great example.
And I was just going to say, if people are looking for handmade local things in Victoria, there's a great place called the Good Vibe Space down by Market Square, the marketplace in downtown Victoria. It really does have a good vibe and lots of handmade local artisans and an amazing variety of gifts and ideas.
Nice. Great plug there, Karen. Thank you very much for the call. Merry Christmas to you.
Okay, and same to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Karen in Victoria. And Faviana is up next in Richmond. You have been making some gifts yourselves, Faviana?
Hi, yes. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
I wanted to share what I've been doing. I've always loved to play with colors, and I've always wanted to paint, but I was terrified of drawing because I can't draw. Well, I think I can. So I started doing what is called dot mandalas with acrylics. You use these glass rods or these tools that have balls on the ends to create patterns with, you just drop, drops of paint on a canvas or on a piece of wood.
Right.
And then you start working like in concentric circles from the center and create patterns. So I started doing this a couple of years ago, and it's a nice way, for example, to use CDs. CDs of all have stacks of CDs that we don't use anymore. With the advent of MP3. So
what a great! Surya has a big smile on her face as she's listening to you right now. How creative!
So, you paint them black, and then you can create an infinite number of patterns with colors. And then with the CDs, I've made holders for incense, and you can put a hole in them and hang them up as mobile.
Oh yeah, right.
So you hang them from a piece of wood, and like driftwood, so it has these neat shapes. You can embed them into, or hang them from walls, or embed them into fences, or if they're well sort of cured for the weather, you can put them on stones, paving stones. You can also paint stones, right? People do that all the time.
Yeah.
I've made jewelry with them. So I'm having a lot of fun and playing around with color that way.
Do you guys want to comment on that? That's pretty amazing.
Oh, I just love that.
Yeah. That is so cool. How did you come up with the idea? I love the idea of the mandala. I can picture the colorful objects right now. How did you come up with this?
I didn't come up with it, but I don't remember how I ran into it. I mean, there's tons of people who do this. There are thousands of people on Instagram who show what they do. And so I started taking them as inspiration and looking at what they did and sometimes copying, just so that I learned, because there's lots of details and subtleties. So of course it wasn't anything that I made up, but and I just thought it was kind of a safe way to paint because I didn't have to worry about, drawing stick men and stick animals, and, so, and it's just so lovely just playing around with color, and you never know what's going to turn out. You start at the center and you start putting dots and various techniques.
I can hear the creativity just flowing out of you as you describe this, and lucky recipients of these as well, Faviana. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you. And let's get to Sarah in Vancouver on the line. Hi, Sarah.
Oh, hi, Michelle.
Nice to hear from you. And I understand we were talking about connections. You have a connection to one of our guests.
Hi, Sarah.
I sure do. Hi, Surya. I didn't know you were on the radio today.
And so you're a friend of Surya's, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about your
each
friendship.
other since grade 8. So,
oh, wow.
Your question about a gift that's handmade is actually the first thing I thought about was something that Surya made for my 3 children. And she sewed a felted advent calendar. I don't know, Surya, if I've already mentioned this, but it's an advent calendar that you can refill every year. And so November 30th, she texts me. I have to race around and find it. And she takes it and she fills it up for my boys who are now teenagers. And every year they get really excited. Even still, they're 15, 17, and 19. And it's such a lovely thing that Surya has made for my boys.
So she made this for you, and pardon me, so she texts you at the end of November. What does she text you?
Where is the advent calendar? I'm coming to pick it up.
And then she puts things in, and
So I fill it every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I'm sure it's very personalized. I can imagine.
It is. And actually it's been, 3 boys, about two years apart each, and I just couldn't figure out what to do for them.
Yeah.
So what it means is that I get to do little things for them all the way through the month. And speak about connection. And it was very heartwarming because I'm never sure when they're teenagers, teenage boys are really hard to get buy things for. But her youngest, Sam, actually asked on November 30th, are we going to have the Advent calendar to get this month? He wasn't sure, which made me feel it's special.
Oh, they look forward to it, it sounds like. And so is it hard to think of what to put in the...
It's different every year. Yeah. Now, I have to admit, I fill it with candy.
That's pretty safe.
That's safe.
That's
We
pretty
don't
safe.
mind that at all. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're totally fine with that.
And Sarah, what is their reaction whenever they open each day?
Well, they connect with each other. So right now I have one in university, so he's not home, but the other two, one will say, "Oh, it's your turn to pick today," and Surya puts in jokes as well, little knock-knock jokes. Oh, that's
great.
Holiday jokes. And yeah, they are kind of unemotional in the morning, but they'll share the joke with us and they'll offer us some of the candy, and it's just wonderful.
I love that idea. How thoughtful.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, thank you very much for the call.
You're welcome.
Anything else you want to say to Surya?
No, you're doing great, and I'm so happy to hear you on the radio today.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay,
She'll catch up with you later. Thank you, Sarah, for the call. We do have many callers joining us today to talk about what are the most thoughtful gifts they've made or given or received. First, though, Cory and Surya were kind enough to bring some examples. So let's perhaps go through some of them. What do you want to show us that people can perhaps take some inspiration from?
Sure. Well, I will pull this out. I had to bring this because this runs in the family. These are actually made by my mom for the shop, and they are reusable crackers. So this is a fun last-minute gift because you could buy this for someone, and all you have to do is untie this and stick your own things in there.
Yes.
So you can put things like jokes or little quotes or homemade candies, all that kind of thing, and those can last year after year.
You've made it with beautiful cloth.
Yes.
Red and
So
green.
sorry. Yes.
Yeah, no.
I'll describe it. They are made out of cloth, and they are actually wrapped around cardboard rolls, and then year after year you can fill them.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
I'm just going to move this because then we can see everything.
Yes. There we go.
And Cory, what about you? I'll just put this down.
Yeah.
So, I definitely, anything handmade, anything intentional.
Oh, look at that. I see pottery. I see ceramics.
So items such as this, you were talking about mugs. Mugs are a big item in our shop, but also a great gift. And mugs that are made with a heart and intention. This mug, the artist is interested in the Pacific Northwest kind of motifs. We also have...
I'm so sorry. Can we just describe it? Because it is stunning. It is a stunning mug, and it's kind of deep blue at the top, and then it kind of widens, and is that a dolphin?
It's a blue whale.
It's a blue whale. Okay, you turn it around. Thank you very much. Look at that. A blue whale amid some waves. How did they make that?
This one is done on a wheel, and each mug is unique. So although she makes a variety of these, it can't ever be one of a kind because, as you say, it's like you're making it, or it's only one of a kind because each one, if you make it the same time, it'll be different because it's made by a person. And then she uses a blue glaze on this. This is a work by Kate Arkaletian.
That is stunning.
Other work is, this artist is Robert Jacobson, and he makes really artistic pieces ranging from charcuterie boards to ornaments.
So is that a chopping block then?
This would be more for a charcuterie board.
For charcuterie. It's a beautiful wooden block with some graphics in the middle.
Yes, this is all different pieces of woods that have been merged together. So
No
this is
way.
a really long process to make something like this. And it really highlights the beauty of wood. but
Yeah.
in an artistic manner.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything that is like really handmade and artistic, I think is a great gift.
It just adds a little something special. I also love, Surya, that you focused on things that are reusable.
Yes.
Both for Sarah's kids and in the Christmas crackers that you've brought with you here. We actually are going to check in with our reporter, Yasmine Ghania, who is at a thrift store right now, at the SPCA thrift store. Hi, Yasmine.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, we are talking about thrifting and giving handmade items for Christmas. Tell us about where you are and what you see around you.
My goodness, there's so many things around me. Gifts for all the loved ones in your life. We got jewelry, books, clothes. So here are a few things that I have in front of me right now. And for our radio listeners, one of the things that I want to show you and talk about are these crystal whiskey glasses. They're so pretty for a gift. And then also, if you're not into alcohol, we have these rose tea mugs, and they're very pretty. They can make tea time a special occasion. I really love them.
Little
I
cups.
love tea. So
I'm laughing because I immediately thought of Justin McElroy, because can you just show us the flag that you have there behind you?
Oh yes, I picked it out specifically. So Justin, if you're watching, and any other Expo 86 lovers, some stuff for you.
An Expo 86 flag, pin flag. I'm surprised it's not on his wall. So.
Oh yeah, maybe I'll get it for him.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
it's a good gift idea. And of course, there's some other things that I want to show you. This toque, it's in really good quality. It's like this light cream brown toque for when we get some cold weather in the Lower Mainland. That'll be good. And of course, we're at the SPCA thrift store, so there are some things for your furry friends as well. Some dog toys, collar. Lots of stuff. And one of my favorite things that I found is this film camera, and it's $15.
Wow.
Like, where else do you find that?
Yes, a real
authentic
camera. I don't think people know those exist anymore. Yasmine, it sounds like you're having more fun than anybody else right now.
Oh yes.
Is this really an assignment?
Having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of people have been coming in for like the whole hour that we've been here. And I spoke to the SPCA thrift manager, and she says that more people are doing Thriftmas this year. They're shopping here for Christmas gifts than they have been in other years. And she says it's because, well, two things: the high cost of living for everything, and also she says there's kind of less stigma around buying secondhand. So yeah, it's been really good. I also got some tips for you and our listeners and viewers about thrift shopping. So if you are going thrift shopping, make sure to look around every shelf and every aisle, because it can be kind of overwhelming. Like, for example, like here we have like vases and mugs and books and clothes. So just take your time, because you will find some hidden gems.
Okay.
And another tip is have an idea of the person that you're shopping for, so you're not going in with a complete like blank slate. So like if somebody likes cooking, or if they like dogs, you know, like you can get some like cute like memorabilia or something. So those are some tips.
Great tips, and I will leave you to it. I'm sure you have some more perusing to do. Yasmine,
yes, I have some last minute Christmas shopping.
Yeah, kill two birds with one stone. Yasmine, thank you so much. That is CBC reporter Yasmine Ghania from the SPCA thrift store on Victoria Drive in Vancouver. Let's take a last call here from Val in New Westminster. What's the most thoughtful gift you've received or given, Val?
Well, it's a gift I gave to my mother. My dad gave me $3 to go Christmas shopping for my two brothers and mom and dad. And I went off downtown New Westminster when everybody shopped in downtown New Westminster. And I saw this beautiful gold brooch with pearls on it sitting in a window, in a store window. And I fell in love with it. And this has to be for my mom. And I went in and I asked the clerk how much was the brooch in the window of the store, and she said, or she didn't say anything. I said, I have $3 to spend. And she said to me, well, as a matter of fact, it's exactly $3.
Oh my goodness.
And so she sold it to me. I had no money left to buy gifts for my brothers and my father. It was the only gift I could buy, but my mother loved that brooch, and she wore it for years, and I still have it today. And I'm 74, to give you an idea of how long ago this was.
$3 has gone a long way.
It could go a long way, but I got the brooch, and that's all I was interested in.
How beautiful.
And if I can just say one thing, my husband worked for CBC for 35 years in the transmission department, and all the guys are getting together today for their Christmas lunch. So happy Christmas to all the fellows and women in the transmission department.
Absolutely.
You don't get to see them, but they work hard for you.
They sure do. Val, thank you so much. Happy Christmas to you and your family.
And to you. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Val in New Westminster. We actually had our BC Today brunch the other day, and we had a used gift exchange in the spirit of Thriftmas. I have 2 minutes left exactly. Any final thoughts, tips from you both for people who are looking for last-minute gifts right now?
Well, you know, one of the things that we sell are kits for people to make their own gifts as well, or to make their own items. So if you don't have time now to make a gift for someone, you can give them the gift of making.
Yes.
I don't know if you also sell
That's
kits,
wonderful.
but you know, any kind of inspiration for people to make their own.
I've
is
given
also
that
a
to
great
my
gift.
daughter to make jewelry and things like that. That's wonderful. An experience, actually. Yeah. And Cory?
I think definitely I love the handmade items from the heart. But if we can't, not all of us can craft. I'm not a great craft person at all. So anything that's also made with heart, like in the season, made with heart would be my thoughts.
Keep that in mind. Absolutely. Hillary writes, the last few years, my daughter has painted me cards as a gift that I can send to people throughout the year. Oh, what a great idea. She buys cards blank with envelopes at a craft store and paints the front of each card in beautiful colors. It only takes her an hour or two, and then they need to dry overnight. But that's wonderful. You can use it to give throughout the year. That's a really thoughtful daughter. Thank you very much for that email, Hillary. bctoday@cbc.ca. And my thanks to our guests, Surya and Cory. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
Merry Christmas to both of you.
To you too.
Surya Govender is co-director of the Learnary, and Cory Vries is with the Craft Council of BC. This is BC Today. That is it for our show today. Thanks so much to everyone who joined in on that really fun topic. Thanks for all of your thoughts and your suggestions. Always great to hear from you. You can always email us again, bctoday@cbc.ca. You can listen again to the show on the CBC Listen app and listen for those tips on shopping and making, or watch us again on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. I'm Michelle Elliott. Thank you for joining us. Have a great afternoon.